think ultimately being a father is, the best. And I was scared for a long time to be a father. And not really because I didn't want kids, but I just didn't want anything to get in the way of being an entrepreneur. And then my younger brother, who's like 6 years younger than me, had his first son. And we had our first office right across the street here. It was a little small space. And I remember walking around the office with him, with his baby. And we were maybe like a year old as a company. And so my eldest daughter, Zoe, was born in 2003. We launched in 2000. And so in that period, I was able to kind of wrap my mind around being a father, but you still don't really know if you're gonna mess it up or, if you're really gonna be everything that they need and how it interplays. I think seeing you go out every day and do your thing and chase what you're chasing and pursuing your dreams, I think is super helpful to them and empowering to them. And so that's what I learned. It was just like, you don't have to change anything. You just have to be able to meet your responsibilities, pursuing your passion and provide for them. But I think the biggest example we can give as parents is to show not somebody that gets up every day and sacrifices their passion for their kids, but somebody that figures out a way to do it all. That you as a woman don't have to give up everything if you have a career and a family. And I think men are under that same pressure sometimes, right? Where you gotta, you marry a woman, you get a kid, you gotta immediately like, leave, stop playing, and you go get you a job, And I would say stop playing and go build a business. I'm Karl Carter, CEO of GTM, and this is my journey. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., Northeast. My dad was a civil rights attorney. Grew up in the movement, also a poet. So he had this really interesting dynamic of being just a big fighter for the people, but then also very artistic. And then my mom was a French professor, and also a poet. So it was just like a lot of art and business kind of in my household. And in my family overall, just like a lot of business and politics. And so I really kind of grew up in a really sort of independent entrepreneurial environment. My granddad was an entrepreneur and a dentist, and my family here in Atlanta was in politics and business. And so I just kind of grew up seeing that as a viable option. I just always remember wanting to get out and get it in whatever form that took. And so I think being in DC really was important. And in my summers, I would go to LA where my dad was from, and I could kind of see that world, which was good to get out of DC and see people doing and living differently, pools and, and Jags. It just kind of showed me what black success could look like on a big level. And the same thing here in Atlanta. I would come to Atlanta, because my mom's from Atlanta, and I would just see people, doing it differently. And so I think DC gives you the grounding because it's very gritty, and I grew up in the murder capital days, and so you got a chance to see the extremes of everything. A lot of sadness, a lot of triumph. For me, marketing and promotions and entertainment was my way out. When DC was a murder capital, there were all these statistics floating around. So if you have 10 friends, there would be 10 of us. We could be like, yo, somebody's gonna die. You know what I mean? But there would be people like a friend away, a friend of a friend who would go. Yeah. Or dude you knew from school or you knew from the neighborhood, or either dead or in jail. Girls too, it was just like a crazy era. And which is hard, unless you live through it, it's really hard to imagine how nutty it was. You get so desensitized to it, it just becomes part of your story, what you're used to hearing, And that's what I think we really owe back. We owe back. There's so many dudes that don't make it. We were having this discussion the other day. I'm like, well, where's the focus on black men? There's a lot of focus on women, but black men are being overlooked and sort of just written off. Do you see the stat when all the energy was around Ferguson? I saw some stat every 28 hours a black man's killed by the police. And then how many of them do you actually hear about? Yeah. You know what I mean? You don't even hear about them. But that's our reality. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the thing that. When I think about entertainment, marketing, just entrepreneurship in general, man. Just giving us a way out, man. We got to do more of that. I got into doing just parties in college, and it was just one of those things where we had a niche for it, had a little knack, and at Hampton, I went to Hampton for my freshman year, then I went to GW later on, and once people started to come up to us, because they liked how we promoted and liked our work ethic. Then it started to click that there may be a business in doing marketing for other people. But I was involved in a advertising competition in college. And I totally took it to like, get 6 credits. I just like had no idea it was gonna be like one of the most difficult, challenging things. And it was a national competition. And our school, GW, won the national competition. And it kind of put me on a national stage to get recruited and stuff like that. But, I still had just a real desire to be my own boss. And I was into the music, and so and I was into breaking talents. We'll break India.Arie and Donnie, a bunch of soul artists, and so that drew me to Atlanta. And so after spending some time in a traditional agency environment and pitching some clients and doing some early branding, we did a radio show called Truth FM, which is one of the early forms of brand entertainment, where we basically made a radio show, went into 10 markets, bought primetime airtime, and then crafted our message within that. And then the brand was Truth, then created all of the content around it, all the ads and everything that ran around it. We just said we're gonna roll the dice, and we took a leap, and Truth took a leap with us and became our first client. So GTM is a brand entertainment company with a focus on cool culture globally. And so we really focus on creating like really interesting content, big platforms that support particular cultures, and just are passionate entrepreneurs. We've been in business 15 years as independents. So for 3 seasons, we produced Master of the Mix. We're in our 4th season, which is a competition reality show for DJs. And so that's the idea. Like, you use your knowledge as a marketer to understand what's coming, and then serve it up, and then also understand the needs of a brand, and then your skill, and how they could benefit from being associated. And then you also use your skills, as a marketer to also say, hey, this is what's missing, and then help create that. And that's by either creating it in-house or working with really cool creatives. This neighborhood, originally called Snake Nation, is a red light district of Atlanta. All the independent sort of rebels were here, the Chinese railroad workers, the crazy mountain men, the freed slaves, they were all kind of congregated here. And so that's where our name comes from, because it represents this idea of like really being, creative rebels, really being true to yourself, but also kind of like representing a location, a locale, That's part of it. So this is our hood. You're only really as strong as your network. And so when I'm here in Atlanta, I focus on that, and I focus on what's going on in the city in a way that I've never had before. I've always been focused on externally bringing in business to GTM. And so now I'm focused on like, how do I make the best possible platform for the members that are here? And so we're launching something called Snake Nation, is a collective for creative rebels. And so I focus my energy on that because I believe in that. Never stop, never settle. You just really, have to just embrace that. Like, it's a very fast moving industry, and it's basically where marketing and media meet, is where brand entertainment lives. And that's just a very dynamic world. It's like, you took the politics of, of advertising, the politics of entertainment, you put them in one, like, interesting gumbo. One, you have to have a vision, and you have to have faith in yourself, and I think in ultimately God, that you're here for a reason. Everything happening to you is for a reason, and so those are the things that have kept me going. Because when you come to those hurdles, and they will come, they come for the most successful of companies. And because that's faith in yourself, but it's also faith because you realize like you have the spark of the Creator in you, so therefore you are limitless. You're ultimately immortal, right? And if you believe in the immortality of the soul, and I do, and so for me, that just kind of puts life in a context. If you think like, wow, this isn't my only life I'm ever going to live, then what do you want to do with this life? What are you going to do with it? And it's not just this decade or this day or whatever, but just like, damn, like, how do you start to piece together where you are, why you're here? Is like this journey that kind of keeps changing. So you just have to have faith to like, you know what? I'm gonna roll with your journey. I'm just gonna go where you're guiding me to go, and then bring my energy along with whatever it is. And so that's something I was writing on Facebook the other day, just like wrote a letter to God, like, thank you for all the challenges in 2014, but let's get 2015 popping, because we have no idea what God has in stake for us the minute you walk out the door, let alone around the corner, let alone next year. And so I think, you have to just be open to those possibilities, and then ultimately, looking at steel sharpening steel, everything you're going through, just being there to make you a better person. And if you have that in you, then no experience you have is going to be a negative. You know, how could it be a negative? Death, even. You know, what you really think is like the end of everything. You know, you really realize like, wow, that's just like a transition. You know, because there's a soul that's gone, and what we're doing here is no longer a concern to them. But then there's also like, well, what do the people do who are left? And how do you handle that, and why? And then the mantle passes from father to son, mother to daughter, father to daughter, right? And so I think, you know, even all of these things that could be even the most negative things all have positive outcomes, you know.